Charlie, what the hell? What was this game tonight?
Well, before we get into the game, I do want to talk about a vintage John Tortorella press conference.
Oh man.
Torts was not happy, even a little bit, at this one. He despised the team's second period, and I think what it's abundantly clear he was going for with that move, like he knew, and he straight up said, "I put Fedotov in a hell of a spot." I think he knew that putting Fedotov out there was probably asking too much of the kid. He's 4 days after coming over. That, in a way, it almost was unfair to ask him to salvage this game. This is their biggest game of the year so far. And Fedotov goes out there and honestly plays quite well. I mean, was he perfect? No, but he was as good as you could have reasonably expected him to be. And I think a big reason why Tortorella put him out there is his thought was, if I put Fedotov out there, the guys will kill themselves to protect him. And maybe for the first 4 minutes of the second period, they played well. Sanheim scores the goal on a really great end-to-end rush to start the second period. They have some good shifts afterwards. To me, once they had that Barzell breakaway that Fedotov makes a save on, the rest of that period, the Flyers just they were passengers. They were watching. If Fedotov was as rusty as I feared he was going to be, the Flyers would have been down 7-0 or 7 whatever the Flyers had. And Tortorella was livid because he clearly wanted to see the team, rip their hearts out of their chest to protect the goalie who really shouldn't even be playing, and instead they sagged. They got worse in the second period under Fedotov than they were in the first under Ersson. And I mean, we got some really good quotes. I put it in otter, so these quotes aren't perfect, but I wanted to have some of them to read off for the post-game show. Answer to the first question was one word, soft, and then one guy played the goal. then we got, what else we have here? We have him talking about how essentially it's just the regular season, but we're learning about players in these games. He strongly implied, well, we learned about some guys. Then he did say, I like the pushback in the third period. Then I guess he took a step back and he's like, I don't want to give him too much credit. And then he stepped back and he's like, I liked some players in the third period. Other guys don't have a clue how to play in these types of situations. So, and then we got that was embarrassing. The second period for the Philadelphia Flyer uniform, the way we played, embarrassing. So it was a vintage John Tortorella press conference. I don't know if I've seen him that angry as head coach of the Flyers as he was about how the Flyers played the second period in particular.
It's hard not to and listen, part of his job is kind of not allowing them to do that, but he can't go on the ice for them, so I get why he is frustrated with them. But Charlie, like, the biggest frustration for me in this game is whether it's you get a guy like Noah Cates scoring his 4th goal of the year early in the game, and then like no follow-up. You get the Fedotov move to start the second, and then you get Sanheim scoring right away on a great end-to-end rush, no follow-up. You get the third period where you play, you push back, you tie the game with 9 seconds left, and then in overtime, no follow-up. Is this part of them being out of gas? Like, why can't they sustain any momentum? We see teams do it to them. Like, they build on, okay, that was an okay period, that was an okay shift, and then 3 shifts later, they score another goal. Why can't the Flyers sustain anything?
Well, I don't know. I don't know if I would. I have a lot of issues with the way the Flyers play this game. I don't know if I would identify that one as a big one. Like, overtime, look, that happens. You guys make mistakes. Frost had a bad pass. It gets caught in a place where Drysdale can't handle it. Boom, the Islanders score. Like, I don't think that's like a case of, well, they just weren't able to sustain it. They have a big goal, and the team goes nuts, and then overtime's a completely different type of hockey. You have the Sanheim goal. I thought they did sustain it for the first maybe 4 or 5 minutes of the period. It was just they took a punch to the mouth. Fedotov makes a fantastic save on Matt Barzell, like legitimately one of the more skilled players in the NHL. And then you're expecting them to find their footing quicker, and instead the rest of that period, like, to me, it's less about building off of a good play, and it's more about responding to the bad plays. Like, that was what I hated about the second period, was it just, like, it shouldn't be that hard to find your footing. Look, I know the Islanders are battling for a playoff spot with the Flyers. They ain't that good. Like, this team's lost a lot of games. This is no juggernaut. The Flyers, given the motivation that they should have had, given that they were playing in front of a goalie who hasn't even been in this country for a week, who is still breaking in his goalie equipment, you should not have allowed the New York Islanders, a mediocre at best team, to run all over you for almost an entire period in that guy's first period at the NHL level. Like that, I understand why Torts was so mad about it. And I mean, another quote he had was, if you don't have enough balls to play in these types of games, rest doesn't do you any good. So
that's great.
This was a vintage John Tortorella presser, and I get it. I do think that the third period they had the pushback finally, but it shouldn't take you 14 minutes to start, 14 minutes and an intermission to have that pushback. Like, they should have been everywhere trying to back up Fedotov, because I had this thing on Twitter today, like, I thought it was crazy to consider putting him in this game. I still think it was crazy to put him in this game. I think it was a batshit move that they put him in this game. And the fact that Tortorella was this angry after the game, I think Tortorella even on some level knows that it was a batshit move to throw him in this game. But his thing was, it was such a batshit move. How could the guys not step up to back up putting a guy in this tough of a situation? And instead, they were just like, nah, the Russian guy who's been here for 4 days, he got it covered, which is crazy.
We all silly like the mayor.